So Greg, is this not streaming to cable or it is? I don't see Gary.
I don't think I put it in for it, but I haven't even seen Gary yet. It says unable to.
Says you're recording it.
I am recording it. Gary, even if I live stream it, Gary still has to do a thing in the control room. Yeah, there's Shanna. Let me put her in.
And did Deb finally get in?
Yep.
I see
you.
that there's her audio is working.
Hi, Shanna.
Hello.
Strawberry fields forever.
Strawberries now.
I thought they did send us all some strawberries because you picked them all yesterday.
I had to wash and disinfect them first.
Well, you had all day to do that.
Hmm.
They have to be quarantined for 14 days.
Exactly, they're quarantined.
They're Massachusetts strawberries. If they came from New Hampshire, that's a different story.
All right.
All right. It is not able to live stream. Well, Gary's not here either way, but we are recording, so we can go if we would like to, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Are we waiting for anybody? We're not, then we'll get started.
I think we can start. I know there's at least one or two other people will be popping in and out.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Borden is on his way back to log in.
He's going to try if he can.
Yeah.
No guarantees.
Yep.
All right, I'll get started.
All right.
As a preliminary matter, this is Chairman Stephen Rose of the Board of Selectmen. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Selectman Eric Beckerman.
Hi.
Selectman Jason Souza.
Aye.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Administrator Gregory Enos.
Aye.
Town Council Joseph Lally.
Aye.
Executive Assistant Shanna Farrell
Hi.
with the strawberries. Good evening. This open meeting of the Board of Selectmen is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comments. For this meeting, the Board of Selectmen is convening by video conference via Zoom, in person as well, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. This is a workshop meeting to discuss warrant articles on the special town meeting and the annual town meeting, both of which are to be held on Monday, June 29th, 2020 at the A1 High School. With that being said, I'll turn it over to the town administrator.
So, Mr. Chairman, first thing first, as you mentioned, with the special town meeting and the annual town meeting next Monday, we did put in a little thing about what to expect for the voters to show up. We did make some notes about, the doors will open up at 6. Mask will be required. If for medical reasons you cannot wear a mask, please inform us and we can have a separate screening area that we'll have for those who cannot wear masks. Family members that you reside with can sit together throughout the auditorium process, sitting down. We'll also have, electronic voting equipment will not be used. We'll be doing a voice vote for all articles will be taken in order as well. This will be helping to streamline the process to try to get the meeting done in a safe and productive manner. So that with that said, I think we could start with Article 1 of this special town meeting. Do you want to start with there, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. A special town meeting. What do we read? Want me to read the article and then have the discussion?
Yep, we can just provide any sort of information when it goes through if we'd like.
Okay.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
quick question. Greg, for town meeting, do we have constables set up for in case of, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got 2 bylaw changes that require 2/3 votes?
The moderator takes care of that.
It is not a 2/3, those are general bylaws, so it's a simple majority.
But don't we also have a stabilization question? That does require 2/3.
Eric,
Yeah,
in my experience, the moderator decides on who's going to be the constables, not the board.
oh, I didn't know if we had somebody that was, okay, fine. Good, thank you.
The moderator assigns the counting of the votes to persons in the audience that he normally asks for volunteers first, and then he assigns it. But that moderator takes care of that task.
Okay, thank you.
Article 1, to see if the town will vote to pay out of available funds the sum of $55,000 as ratified for a 2-year collective bargaining agreement for the period of July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2020 between the town and the Professional Firefighters of Avon, IAAF Local 3857.
And Mr. Chairman, this is the 2-year MOU with the Full-Time Firefighters Association of $55,000. This amount will come from the current FY20 fire budget. And I believe Chief Spur's on to confirm that. I saw him on there earlier.
It is. There is adequate funding in the current budget for this.
All right, and the article has been recommended by the Finance Committee.
Correct.
Always very good.
Yep.
Article 2, see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $1,300,000 to pay down various bonds. Town Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, we had our financial team meet with our bond counsel, Hilltop Securities, and we were looking at our budget for FY21 and saw the increase due to the police and fire station as well as Brentwood on the debt payment schedule. Treasurer collector, town accountant, Selectman Beckerman and I looked at the few different scenarios. One of the things we saw was the ability to use some of the free cash that we have available to lower that amount while also refinancing our bonds. It would end up saving us about $250,000 overall in interest rate payments for the next 9 to 10 years, as well as lowering our bond payment by about, give or take, $215,000 each for this coming year. By doing it this way, not only are we saving $250,000, give or take, depending on the bond market, over the next 10 years, by lowering our payments, we have that ability to not have to cut that additional sums in our budget.
I didn't ask
might
on
be able to
Article.
speak on that as well.
Yeah, I didn't ask on Article 1. Does anyone have any comments on the articles as we go through? Certainly, this is a workshop. Anyone can ask questions.
I'm all set, sir.
I'm good.
Thank you. Well, my favorite phrase, seeing none, we'll move on to Article 3.
Well, I will say, Mr.
Oh.
Chairman, just for a point of reference, I'm just trying to pull up the exact articles. If this article does not pass, in terms of what we're looking to fund, we would have to come up with the additional $215,000 in our budget. So one of the things in our meeting that we talked about previously, and it's going to be online, what happens if this fails? We would have to reduce our OPEB payments to $0 from the 145 we have. We'd have to reduce our sick buyout payments to $0, reduce medical insurance by $35,000. And those would be the things that we would have to adjust in our budget if that article does fail.
But those are the line items that you suggest that we adjust.
Yes, those are the easiest suggestions to do without getting into other issues.
I know Monday's pretty quick. Because we're going to be in the auditorium, I believe, right? At least to start.
Yep.
Can we produce a slide or something so that the people can see the effects of the payment?
Yep, we can work on that. We
All
have everything with Hilltop. We show where the payments are coming, where they're going. We're going to put that up online right now as well, and we can work on a slide for that.
I just
I'm
think
sure-
a visual might help spending that kind of money.
Yep. I'm sure Trish will love that, but we can put it together.
Sorry, Trish. Anyone have any other comments before I move on to Article 3?
Well, just to let you, I mean, bond counsel did contact us first to refinance. They were the first ones way back in January, if you remember them coming, Hilltop, telling us it was a good thing to do with these bonds. So that's why we, another reason why we are refinancing them is because Hilltop did reach out to us to let us know that it was a good opportunity. And again, now with the 1.3 that we're going to use from free cash, that will make it even better for, the residents and the tax rate.
Yeah, it allows us not to go into our excess capacity, which would just raise, obviously the tax rate higher.
Mm-hmm.
We purposely worked within the budget to minimize that effect.
Any other comments? All right. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $2,915 to pay a prior year bill, and the bill is for Eric Kenshaw. Kind of self-explanatory, but any comments, Mr. Town Administrator?
I would just say this, Mr. Chairman, we actually did encumber money last year to pay, but we previously must have missed a certain amount because we ran out of money when we encumbered it. So Mr. Kinshirf has been waiting patiently. He brought this up when Erin came on board as a town accountant, and we mentioned putting it on the article for the special to get it paid.
How did we run out of encumbered money?
I can't come up with that except the fact that I believe the former town accountant didn't encumber enough for the bills that she had. She either missed this bill when she did her encumbrances or didn't count something correctly, but it was a bill that we knew about. So my assumption would be that she just didn't encumber enough money.
Okay, thank you.
Does that sound right, Erin? I know you're on here as well.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Any other discussion about Article 3 in the prior year bill? Moving on to Article 4, to see if the town will vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 59, and Chapter 23A, Sections 3A through 3F, and the applicable regulations thereunder, to approve a tax increment financing agreement between the town and Karas and Karas Glass Company, Inc. and its affiliate, Kuka LZK Properties LLC, for property located at 1 Kitty Drive, better known as the TIF agreement, which TIF agreement provides for real estate tax exemptions at the exemption rate schedule set forth therein, and authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute the TIF agreement and any documents related thereto, and to approve submission to the Massachusetts Economic Assistance Coordinating Council of the TIF agreement, and any documents related thereto, all pertaining to the project as described in TIF agreement, and any necessary documents relating thereto, sounds like a lawyer, and related submissions, and to take such actions. That is an article to have town meeting approve the TIF agreement that was negotiated with the Board of Selectmen and Karas and Karas Glass with the help of town assessors. Any comments, town administrator?
So, Mr. Chairman, as you remember, the town did have one previous TIF that was set in front of town meeting, but it never went to the point where it was approved by the state. That was a few years ago. Karas Glass came to us about a month and a half ago, mentioning that they're building, they purchased the 1 Kitty Drive, looking to originally just to keep it as a warehouse space. But when they started running the numbers and looking at some of the potential to move their entire operations from Boston to Avon, they started looking at whether a TIF is a possibility with the town of Avon. Right now, they are looking to spend about $5.5 million renovating and supplying the building to make it their permanent location for their headquarters. They have currently about 90 employees, and they're looking to, through this TIF, create 20 additional jobs. As part of the agreement, we were able to secure that town of Avon residents will be have preferential treatment for those who are qualified for the positions. And these are good, high quality positions for the residents of Avon, as well as for Karas Glass coming down here. We had posted a meeting that we did with Cracker Barrel, Karas Glass, to give the update on that. That's on the website. The agreement itself is for 10 years, and the exemption is only for the renovations to the building. So the town going forward would still get the same amount of money that they would if nothing else is done to the building. And then from that on in, there's a step decrease of the exemption for the next 10 years. So it goes from 100 to 90 to 80 to 70, so on and so on. And the first year, Mr. Sullivan could speak more. He's had experience working with these as well. It is in my opinion, a win-win for the town to recruit a well-known established company that would be bringing in 20 additional jobs, having 115, 120 employees in the industrial park, in a building that has long been an issue in terms of the quality of tenants in there. But I would turn it over to Mr. Sullivan if you'd have any input as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Town Administrator. As indicated, the Karas and Karas Glass Company, it's a 4th generation glass company, and they do an awful lot of work in Boston and so forth. And what they were trying to do is find another location, and a lot of their workers, they have some from Avon, Whitman, and the general area. So going back last year, this is where they located the property at 1 Kitty Drive, and they did purchase that property. And what they wanted to do,
scoop and a half of food.
what they wanted to do was to relocate their business, basically to come out to Avon, and they came and discussed it with Greg, and we met with the owners and so forth and went through to create this TIF. The TIF basically is going to be for the improvement that they intend on purchasing and creating a new addition. They want to build an 18,000 square foot addition, and that in also with the purchase is going to bring the project upwards of $17 million. It's a 10-year TIF. The town will not lose any money in a sense because you're going to have your base value, which will generate tax revenue. And then they're going to put the addition on, and that addition will have a sliding scale so that in the course of 10 years, the town will realize an increase in taxation, and it'll improve the property as it is now. And hopefully the surrounding businesses will see what is taking place, and it may inspire them to renovate their properties as well. And it's also, as Greg had mentioned, it's going to be bringing in some new employees in addition to, I think they have about 90 or 100 current employees, so they'll all be coming out to Avon, and that'll help the local businesses. And another thing that was important was the auto excise for the vehicles. That's going to be generating some excise tax for the town as well. And that'll keep, it's almost like a gift that keeps on giving because they need those vehicles to keep going and generate their business. They'll keep new employees. And I think, as Greg had mentioned, we all are mentioning that it's a win-win situation for the town to get new growth into the town. It's going to help with the tax rate and property values as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
You're welcome.
Anyone else that would like to speak or ask questions on this? Certainly, if we could have as many people understand this and hopefully be in favor of it, it'll make town meeting go that much smoother.
Paul, one question is on the base value of the building. So let's say that, for argument's sake, the value of the building right now is $1 million. And next year, due to normal assessing increases, it goes up to 1.1 million.
Yes.
The taxes they pay would still be on the 1.1 million. The revised assessment less the.
No, what will happen is you have a base value.
Right.
When the project or their new addition, once that is 100%, that's when the TIF should actually commence. So that you have your base value of 3 million. The addition is going to be worth X amount of dollars. We're estimating the total project would be 7 million. So
Right.
that difference will be on a sliding scale that we negotiated with them to realize the tax revenue to the town.
Right. Yeah.
Each year, the market will tell us the base value for all commercial and industrial properties may go up. That's where the value for the base may go up a little bit, plus the new addition, and that's the TIF. The TIF is only on the new growth or the new addition. It's
Right.
not on the existing, the old.
I understood that. I think that you answered my question. My question was basically the base value doesn't stay constant. The base value can change based on the current market.
Exactly.
So there could still be additional taxes down the line,
Yes.
but we won't lose anything because the
Exactly.
amount that's currently valued at, unless for some reason the real estate market dives, we're not losing anything.
Correct. And even if it does, we still have the stopgap that it's going to be at the base value.
Right. Okay.
Yes, it's a protection for the town.
Okay. Thank you.
Basically, Eric, the idea will be is that if, there's a good possibility that if they don't get the TIF in the value there's likely that they may not do the renovation, just keep it as a warehouse.
Right.
Therefore, we would just keep the same value we would get without the TIF of what their regular building is worth.
Yep, okay,
Again, it's same thing.
great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions? No other questions on Article 4, which I think is going to be an important article for this town. So that will conclude the special town meeting. Hopefully, we get it done fairly quickly. And then we'll move right into the annual town meeting, which I think this must be the first or second week of May, because that's when we normally have it, so I don't know what happened. But anyways, Article 1 is to hear the reports and minutes of the previous session, and we always take care of that fairly quickly. Article 2 is to fix the salaries of the elected town officials for the fiscal year and raise an appropriate necessary funds to defray the costs. Article 3 is to see the town will vote to raise an appropriate or transfer from available funds such funds of money as may be necessary to defray the town charges for the ensuing fiscal year 2020, including salaries. So this is, we don't, I guess, oh, this is just an article, so
That's the budget.
right, so the budget will be in the annual town meeting book.
Yeah, it's in the back.
I
It's
do
in the
have
back.
it with me if we want to go through it. It's up to you if we want to go through the different ones. We will post, the book is online. We will also create the PDF for the book, so that's up also online. As we talked about previously, the budget itself, we did go through after the funding issues with the state and lower quite a few articles, not articles, budgets in terms of expenses and other things to realize the potential loss of state aid and other sources of funding. So we did actually have an increase of only around 2% for the budget as a whole.
From a technical side, Eric, why
Yes,
did we move the budget to the back of the book instead of leaving it underneath Article 3?
we've always done that, Mr. Chairman. We've never put it in Article 3.
In the minutes, I believe, Mr. Chairman, it does show in the actual article.
But
Okay.
in the book, we haven't been able to do that because of the way that the PDF files have to be sent to the printer. So I think there might have been times we put it in the beginning, like in the front of the book, and other times we put it in the back.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I know this is a article, but since Article 3 is the budget, does anyone have any questions or clarifications in dealing with the budget as proposed? And it has been recommended for approval by the Finance Committee. Well, this meeting's gonna go pretty fast. All right, so we'll go to Article 4. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept and to enter into a contract for the expenditure of any funds allotted or to be allotted by the Commonwealth of Mass and/or County of Norfolk for the construction, reconstruction, and/or improvement of town roads. This is an annual article that we can spend any money that we get, namely Chapter 90 money. Any comment, question? Town administrator first.
Mr. Chairman, this is, like you said, it's an annual article. We present it each year for the hopes of being able to spend what we need in terms of roads. I do believe Mr. Fitzgerald is here as well, if he would have any comment.
No, it's a normal article, so as projects come up and are able to be constructed, the selectmen can accept and process the projects. Same thing with, say, grants like the Mass Works grants, things like that.
Has the Chapter 90 for this year, has it been funded yet?
Yeah, we have a balance. Depends on,
no, 2021, the
I
letter
have
that
not
we normally
seen-
get in April, is it been funded yet?
I believe
I've
that
not
one
seen the
has,
numbers.
it's still, go ahead. I'm sorry, Greg.
I have not seen the numbers, Bill. Have you?
I haven't got the latest report. I can ask for it tonight, but
I was under the impression that we know what we're getting for the allotment, but it has not been funded yet through the state legislature.
I believe it's what we got last year. I don't think we've received a raise for last year. I believe it's around 180. Does that sound right, Bill?
yes.
Okay. Just in case somebody asks.
Yep.
you
I'll
have-
have that for you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
And any other questions on Article 4? Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the septic loan receipts account the sum of $10,400 for a final payment of the Title V Water Pollution Abatement Trust Loan voted and approved at the annual town meeting of May 5th, 1998, Article 23. Town Administrator?
I would pass this to Miss Waldron.
I think the dollar amount is wrong. It's supposed to be 10,200.
What was that?
It's supposed to be $10,200.
Okay.
So if we're going to change it, town moderator likes to have that change in writing after we read it.
Yep, we'll work with the town clerk to get that.
Very good.
But you want to talk about I mean, this is a pretty simple one. Obviously, we've done this every year, Kathleen, right?
Yeah, I don't have much to say about it.
Anybody else?
What it is it's the WPAT, the septic loans that we had lent out, we had borrowed and we had lent out. When we get the money back in, the principal and the interest, it goes in this receipts reserve account, and that's how we pay the debt. This is actually debt, but the debt is funded by the repayments from the people that have borrowed from the septic loan and are repaying it on the betterments.
Thank you, Deb.
And this is the final payment. So she is right, it's $10,200. And this is the final, this has been 20 years since we went and got this loan here.
Does anybody know, are we eligible to get another loan?
We actually have one. If you look at the next article,
Yep.
we have a $450,000, Kathleen?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's 400 or 415. We did that back in 2015. So we've got another loan out there right now that we're loaning out.
Thank you. Any more questions on Article 5? Article 6, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the septic loan receipts account the sum of $6,000 for repayment of the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, formerly the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust, voted and approved at the annual town meeting of May 5th, 2015, Article 37. Town Administrator,
I would pass it off to Miss Waldron again.
he doesn't want to talk.
No, I didn't know. Mr. Chairman, as Deb mentioned before, this is an annual article for the septic loan program. Every year we do this article, so it's just a standard article we have.
It's a good thing that Jerry Picardi is going to talk for these articles, because otherwise they'd never get passed. Any more discussion on Article 6? Article 7, to see if the town will vote to move from annual town meeting of 2018, Article 14, Page Street Water Tank Stabilization Account, the sum of $2,036.52 earned interest on account to estimated receipts, town treasurer.
So the water tank stabilization account was set up in 2018. Stabilization accounts, the interest stays with the account. So with the annual town meeting last year, when they moved $1.120 million into the article, it still had all the interest left in the stabilization account. So what we want to do is just clean out the stabilization account and take the interest and put it into estimated receipts. It's more housekeeping, just to clean up the account.
Anyone else with any discussion? Okay. Article 8, see if the town will vote to enact Chapter 115-14 of the Town of Avon General Bylaws entitled Stretch Energy Code for the purpose of regulating the design and construction of buildings for the effective use of energy pursuant to Appendix 115.AA of the Massachusetts Building Code 780 CRM, but CMR, I work with CMR, the Stretch Energy Code, including future additions, amendments, or modifications thereto, with an effective date of January 1st, 2021. Town Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, we had previously talked about becoming a green community with the Board of Selectmen. This is one of the 5 things that we have to do to become a green community. The stretch code has been around for a few years. It is currently, I don't want to say neck and neck, but they mirror the current building code as of now. It is only on new construction for residential and for commercial over 100,000 square feet. It is mostly for energy conservation measures. And it is something that, as of now, is, as I mentioned, is about the same as the current building code. There's 278 communities out of the 351 in Massachusetts who have already approved the stretch code. It covers 85% of the population of Massachusetts that are under the stretch code. By accepting this, we are allowed to then apply to become a green community, receive about $135,000 this year for energy conservation measures, which we have plenty projects that we can fund this with, whether it's the buying of the street lights and converting them to LED for free from this money, or renovating the numerous HVAC units that are not working on town hall or past their useful life. We are also, in terms of our discussion we had with the state as part of our previous meeting, they went through all the benefits of the stretch code, as well as their presentation showed that we would be eligible for up to $200,000 every additional year for those awards. They mentioned a few towns around us that have received almost 800,000 or over millions of dollars in the last 5 to 10 years because of the green communities. I know there's been some issues with people not being comfortable with the stretch code, thinking that it may change and have a lot more detriment to the building trades in Avon. Again, we are allowed to rescind this if it gets to a point where it is too restrictive for our town. Right now, no town has rescinded the stretch code, and it is a ability for us to move forward and get eligible for grants that really wouldn't affect a lot of the builders. I think we've had 0 commercial buildings that would qualify into this. And I think it's about 14 housing units that would have been in the last 2 years would have been affected by this. So it's a small number for us right now.
Building Commissioner Border, did he make it on?
I did not see him yet.
Okay.
Talk to the
Mr.
planning
Cologne?
board, and I know that
Mr.
they're going to
Cologne make it on?
research it again. I'm sorry,
I just asked if Mr. Camo was on.
I did not see him.
Okay.
but I did have a conversation with him. The planning board is planning to try to meet before this. They did have a discussion on it. I believe their biggest concern is, again, whether or not the stretch code changes and if the town can rescind it without losing the funding that we receive. I did confirm with the state that we would be eligible to keep the funding if we rescind it after we do a project. We just wouldn't be eligible for additional grant opportunities. So,
Any other comments from anyone? No more comments? Again, I think this is one of the articles that we'll probably have some discussions on, and I know building commissioner would like to speak on it at the town meeting, so we'll certainly let him and anyone else that would like to speak about it. All right, moving on to Article 9. Article 9 is a general bylaws amendment. It's many pages long.
yeah,
Can-
I would say, Mr. Chairman, 9 and 10 are combined, and I'm
Okay.
sure they're basically all part of the stormwater MS4 permit process. There are things that we are required to pass by June 30th of 2020 by DEP. And I'm sure Mr. Fitzgerald could briefly reiterate what would happen if we didn't pass this article.
Well, technically, under the Clean Water Act, which is where wastewater and stormwater pollution is covered, it's potentially $10,000 a day fine. But on the other hand, this kind of came out of the blue. Greg and I got emails from EPA that town technically should have done it as a bylaw back in 2003, I think, as early as that. We do all this basically, other than one piece I'll mention, through planning board and conservation regulations and all that. But it needs to be in a bylaw to meet their criteria, particularly since the new stormwater permit got issued 2 years ago. It's very protective of our drinking water wells. And the other thing it allows that's good that we technically couldn't allow is if you've got a flooded basement because of groundwater, you could not tie into our stormwater system. You'd have to pump out in your backyard. It might end up in a septic system, blah, 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 freeze the road. This would allow us to issue a permit as long as we know it's clean groundwater, take care of your wet basement. And that's about it. We've talked with the planning board, and there would be some changes to their regs. They're particularly concerned that 100, right now the regs talk about a 25-year flood. This would, we'd be talking with them about amending it to meet the state guidelines to be a 100-year flood. I don't know, Jason might know more about that than I do, not to put you on the spot. Something Chuck and I had talked about.
Do we want to bring these two articles together? Or are we going to vote on them separately? Is there a problem if one gets approved and one doesn't?
Well, I think we need to do both to meet the EPA administrative order with penalties to do them. Yeah, we originally tried to set them up as one bylaw, one vote. I don't know if you can or can't do that, but the way the code is set up, they needed to end up in different sections, just the numbering system.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the short answer is yes, we would need to do both.
Okay.
And it would be nice if we could vote them twice or vote them at the same time for expediency in terms of having both at maybe one vote, if possible, if the moderator is willing, just so that we can be judicious with our time in the meeting.
All right. Anyone else have any comments, discussion on these two articles that we'll at least discuss together, apparently? Article 9 and Article 10? Nope. All those in favor? Oh, no, wrong vote. Sorry. All right. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer to the estimated receipts the unexpended balance of monies in the amount of $69,439.26, more or less, hopefully more, as voted by past town meetings and indicated below. $12,687.60 from the police retro, ASME retro, $12,507.18. Another ASME retro for $2,652.94. Prior year bill, 30 cents. There's the money that we needed for Eric Kinshaw.
Yep.
Engineering Lutheran property, it's only 22 years old, $1,653.50. Land purchase, Pharmacy Park, vehicle for the building department apparently, and the Regional School District Planning Council. All that adds up to $69,439.26. Comments, discussion, town administrator.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things we, is by balancing our budget, we talked about using $60,000 in free cash, which is something we've never done. One of the things we want to do is try to look at articles that are outstanding, that we know have a balance that we can transfer back so that it will hit free cash, so that we'll have that amount replenished for next year. We looked at some of these articles, as you mentioned, the one that's over 20 years old, the one that has 30 cents. There's a few more that are 5 years old or 4 years old. So we wanted to try to look at the ones that we know that are not going to be touched in the near future and to do this. We have a few others that we're looking at, but Mr. Beckerman and I went through some of these to come up with an amount close to the $60,000. That's why we have that amount there.
Selectman Beckerman, any comments?
Just to say that this article is very similar to Article 7. The only difference is Article 7 money is sitting in a stabilization account, where these are just in old articles. So I think it's been a past practice of both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee to review old articles, try to bring it back into the fold in one way or another. Through conversations with Greg and I and other people, we thought this year would be a good year to pull these ones that were fairly simple and straightforward back into the fold, and rather than repurpose them, put them in almost as if they were estimated receipts to assist us with this year's budget process.
Anyone else with any comments or discussion? Town treasurer?
No, I agree. I totally agree. They're old articles that should have probably been closed out a long time ago.
Okay. Anyone else with any discussion on that? Nope. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $35,000 to Article 14 of the May 5th, 2015 annual town meeting to be used by the Board of Assessors to fund work for state mandated recertification. Mr. Sullivan, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is just the state requirement. It used to be every 3 years. Now it's every 5 years to have a state mandated recertification for all the properties in the town. And we had some money that was still in the 2015 annual town meeting, and we're just adding this 35 to that to have sufficient monies to, in a sense, meet the requirements for the Department of Revenue for our recert.
Thank you. I would think that if it's state mandated, the state would be paying for it. Oh, no, that's a joke. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's a joke.
Funny too.
Unfunded state mandates.
That's right.
No such thing.
Anyone else have any comments? Any discussion? The Moderator will take a motion to adjourn. No, sorry. So we made it through town meeting. Nobody got shot. Everyone, all the articles passed. Everyone had explanations. And I want to thank everyone for participating today. Certainly, this workshop will be sent to cable TV to be transmitted so that everyone who wants to can have a look at this and try to get an explanation of any of the articles. And I would say that if anyone has any questions on any of these articles before the town meeting, certainly town administrator or the department head of where it was sponsored certainly could have some answers also. So anyone have anything else they'd like to add to the workshop dealing with the warrant articles of the special and annual town meeting of 2020?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say, one is, like we mentioned, please show up starting around 6. We do have limited space, so we are trying to get everyone in there as soon as possible. We will also have this not just on ATM, but we'll also put it on our YouTube channel, linked up with our website. So we will have all this information as well as other PDFs and documents on the bond, on the TIF, on Article 3, etc., on our website for residents to see prior to town meeting. So we'll be ready for that. We'll also have another walkthrough. I believe the fire chief and I will go through and show people what some differences are for the town meeting in terms of microphones and speaking, because we'll have to have a little different process this year. So we'll do that, and we'll have that out as well on the YouTube as well as ACAM.
Very good. Certainly this year is going to be a challenge. It's something totally different that I'm used to and that we probably never had before. But I know that we can do it. If the town of city of Boston can go spend money and approve their budget the other night, town of Avon can do it also. Again, if anyone has any questions or comments about it, certainly they'll certainly call any one of the selectmen or town administrator or executive secretary. We'll certainly answer the questions, and I want to make sure that anyone that has any questions or needs clarification, that we try to give it to them before the meeting so that the meeting will go fairly smooth. Anyone have any comments?
I think we should give them Mr. Lally's number to call.
Well, we can do that. Does he pick up the phone? No. All right, so unfortunately, the Board of Selectmen will need to convene an executive session. So I will be looking for a vote on that, but the Board of Selectmen will convene an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's bargaining or litigating position. Also, to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel. We need to talk about unfunded liability, both on the union and non-union personnel, employment agreements with non-union personnel, DPW director, library director, town treasurer collector, and town administrator. And the board will reconvene in open session for the sole purpose of adjournment. And with that all being said, the chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, this needs to be a roll call vote. Selectman Beckerman,
Aye.
Selectman Souza.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Again, we're going to reconvene in open session for the sole purpose of adjournment. I want to thank everyone for participating tonight, and we'll see everybody there Monday, June 29th, hopefully around 6 o'clock so we can get started at 6:30. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.